A very good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, whatever place you tuned on to the Life Signatures of Radio. It's a daily show where we talk about purpose, productivity, and resilience. We are in the middle of a series. We're talking about the road less traveled. It's a very vast series. We've been talking about this. This is actually a book. By the way, there's someone who has written a book about the same thing. Scott M. Peck wrote a book called The Road Less Traveled. And so I'm just discussing that when our feet are on that particular road, two things happen. Number one, we get introduced to who we really are. We don't get introduced to who we really are in the comforts of the road most traveled. We get introduced to who we really are in the uncomfortable road less traveled. And secondly, we get to grow. And so I've been looking at how exactly can we get on the road less traveled. And the first thing we said is that you do the uncomfortable. And today, of course, we started talking about that yesterday. We said you're supposed to do the unconventional. And let's go deeper into that so that you can understand it. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
The road less traveled requires for us to go on the road of the unconventional, doing the unconventional things. And I need to ask you a question here. Can you remember the very first time you did something that was out of the ordinary? Something new, something that you'd never done before? And I will bet that you had a very, very, very interesting time. You never went back to normal. You never, they normally tell us that the brain is like a muscle. It never goes back to the original place once it expands. You never went back to normal once you did it. Okay? Probably. That unconventional thing helped you to realize that you can grow. You can experience something different, something new. And it helped you to realize that you are capable of new things, different things you can handle. Right? It actually marked some sorts of revolution, personal revolution in your life, something like that. And maybe sometimes you keep referring to that particular moment, that particular pivotal moment in your life from time to time. You see, no revolutions were ever without the unconventional. There is no revolution coming out of the ordinary. And if you wanted a revolution in your life, it's going to be the extraordinary, the unconventional. You've got to do the unconventional. But here's the thing. If you have absolutely no clue about what I'm talking about, as in, doesn't click in your mind at all. If you've never done anything unconventional, chances are that you are not going to go through the self-birthing process. You don't know who you are. You've never been introduced to who you are. You don't know who you are and what you are capable of. And interestingly, doing something unconventional is not only beneficial to you. It's not only beneficial in the self-birthing process. It is also critical to the birthing of an organization, a company. Any company worth its salt that goes through the unconventional means, they always bring birth to something new. In the business world, we see this from time to time. There are like a gazillion examples that I can mention. I do not have time to talk about the top 10 companies of the entire world here. Probably this is not the scope, but I can tell you this, all of them, I leave that to you. All of them, they went through the process of self-birthing largely when they did something unconventional. Never been done before by them or by anybody else, and they did it. Some survived and they went all the way up. See, other new companies that are causing ripples, the way that their unconventional things are being done, they will always do that because of the unconventional. In fact, they make it to the news because of the unconventional. Uber doesn't own cars. Alibaba and Amazon do not own products. Airbnb, they do not own hostels and estates and buildings. But Zoom owns a building, an office. I'm not gonna go there. What do they have? What do we have to learn from these guys? They do have a spirit of doing things in the unconventional way. Therefore, if you and I wanted to go through the process of self-birthing, we must of necessity embrace this. We must gravitate towards doing the unconventional, and actually we must become comfortable in ever doing this. It means that if I look at my life today and I find that what I've always been doing is the same old, since I was born, since I became aware of who I am, there's nothing new I'm doing. Same old. There is no birthing going there. There is no growth going there. It's just routine. Rut. R-U-T. To be unconventional is to go right against the status quo, right against the convention. And I can tell you this, that status quo is the greatest enemy that we've got to fight on a daily basis if we're going to birth ourselves. And nobody ever realized who they were by keeping on. Maintaining status quo. What have been has always been. You never realize who you really are. And those who come to the precipice of discovering their greatness and birthing their destinies are those who choose to do something different. Dare to do something different. They dare to do something unaccepted. Something feared. Something that is not what everyone else is doing or talking about or boasting about or toasting about. The question then will be this: how in the world will I do that which is unconventional? I'm going to give you two ways. One, through instinct and through ideas. I can talk about this for a whole month. Instinct and ideas. These are a great helper in our lives. Every single day, ideas and instinct, they are always prodding us, and they are always doing it silently in the spirit. But we don't listen. We don't dare to listen because we're so steeped into the conventional. We don't want to get out of the status quo, but instinct is telling us do something different today. Write that chapter today. And every now and then, perhaps even on a daily basis, ideas, they pass through our minds, and there are things that we are passionate about that we want to do them. However, every idea that passes through our mind is always, for the most part, going to be an unconventional idea. It's not going to be the same old. And otherwise, it's not an idea, by the way. And if we're going to be unconventional, we have to be daring enough to listen to those ideas and follow through them. I don't know if there is any human being who doesn't have ideas. I don't think there is, honestly. And the good news is that we are never short of ideas. They are always, even if you missed it yesterday, even if you missed that idea and you see now it's a business for someone else, let me tell you, the door of ideas is not closed. It's always going to be open. Our part is to be daring enough to follow through the idea and also the instinct that is inside of us. Following through ideas that are conventional is one sure way to know that we are involved in our self-birthing process and we are actually on the road less traveled. That's the first thing. Instinct and ideas. The second thing that I'm going to tell you is planning to rebel. Planning to be a rebel. The second way to do the unconventional is to look around your routines and just question them. Why am I always at this table at this hour? Do I have to? Why do we always have Christmas trees? Do we have to? Why do we always go to church on Sunday? Do we have to? Do I have to? Some things need to be questioned, ladies and gentlemen. Some routines that we have steeped ourselves in, they need to be questioned. We need to rebel against them at some point in time. You know why? Because we are engaged in routines that were handed down to us and we don't know the why, the reason behind them. We're just doing them for the sake of doing them, for the sake of maintaining peace. We normally have got to question these things, and I normally ask religious people to be willing to face criticism and questions. Why do you believe what you believe? You've got to have an answer to that particular question. You've got to be bold enough to face that question. The same goes with the conventions that we are steeped into. We've got to be bold enough to be challenged. It's not easy, but this is the road less traveled. This is what culminates into the self-birthing process. It applies to our normal lives. You'll be thoroughly shocked about the useless routines that you are engaged in today that don't add up to anything other than just feeding the status quo and pleasing people who are dead already. They are useless. And at times it takes a crisis to break these routines. It takes extraordinary circumstances to break us from these ruts and these routines. It takes a crisis to break us out of our own ruts and routines in order to do something that is unconventional. So we simply discover not only a way of doing away with some of these things, but we also discover who we really are. And we participate in the process of self-birthing, which is one of the most important things in life today. But I'm going to invite you to do those two things. Follow through the ideas and the instincts that you're having every single working day. And two, question your routines. If there is nothing constructive coming out of your routine, it is occupying space, it's occupying time, get rid of it and do in its place something unconventional. Tomorrow we'll continue talking about this, but until then, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.